Welcome to The Third Chair, a show about real people, real stories, real life. And here are your hosts for The Third Chair, Peter Grigg and Doug Bazeski.
You know, Doug, one of the things I really enjoy about some of the guests is seeing some of the amazing artwork that they produce.
Oh yes, we've seen a lot of amazing artwork in the past, and our audience is going to see some amazing artwork today.
Yeah, we're really fortunate. We have a local artist named Aleah Farrell, A Farrell Artworks on Instagram, and she is going to show some of her amazing stuff. She does acrylic and she also does analog collage, so we're going to find out about that.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I had no idea what that was until she told us. It is our pleasure to have Aleah Farrell on the show. Please welcome Aleah.
Welcome to The Third Chair. We have Aleah Farrell. Is that right?
Aleah Farrell.
Aleah.
Aleah sounds like Hawaiian. Aleah.
I've been thinking about Hawaii all day.
Yeah. Who hasn't?
That's right. Yeah. And pineapples and lobster. And
Sounds great. When are we going?
That's right.
Right after we finish this episode.
And she's a local artist. She was a short time in the Navy, and she basically, you're an administrator at schools, but you've been doing some substitute teaching lately because of shortage of teachers, right?
I actually work in, my day job, I guess, is in the risk management office. So I used to be in HR. Now I work in risk management. I do workers' compensation claims adjusting.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Wow, that is like the exact opposite of like what an artist does.
A little bit. Two sides, dualistic personality.
And we'll get into that later, but first we want to talk about your art. So you're a mixed media artist. What do you focus on as a mixed media artist? I mean, I know you do all kinds of things, but what is your focus?
So mixed media as a type of art means that you're using multiple different types of media to create your imagery or your artwork. So I work a lot in acrylic paint and collage, analog collage. So I'm just in there with some scissors cutting things out, using different kinds of paper, using different kinds of materials, a lot of glue, sometimes some glitter.
So what's the analog part?
Analog, so another popular form of collage right now is digital collage. So people will digitally cut images and manipulate them to create an image or a piece of art, as opposed to analog collage is just good old-fashioned cutting.
Which one is
paper.
easier?
Well, I am super not adept at like Photoshop or any of the electronic
So you have to
manipulation ones. I would love to learn about them, but it's just
Do you
not
have to
something
use the
I've done.
mouse to
I think
manipulate?
there are like 1,000 different kinds of programs. I've seen people do it with tablets and electric pens and
Well, that might be easier.
Yeah, my
Mouse.
daughter's done that for her art programs. Yeah, she has tablets where she can sketch cartoons. Yeah.
So I have a tablet. I'm learning about the digital side of collage and creating work digitally, but I have been just a good old-fashioned paper cutter for a while.
So you're learning about it. Do you take classes, or is this kind of on your own, figuring out the program?
Right now I'm learning kind of on my own. I just started kind of delving into that in the last couple of months, just as kind of an experiment to push my creative ideas. And I would love to take a class. I also have an art studio at Cottonwood Center for the Arts, and they offer a bunch of different kinds of classes. So hopefully maybe we'll work something out there, and I'll be able to take a Cottonwood class and learn a little bit more about digital manipulation of images.
And you have a busy life, that makes stuff difficult.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about your busy life on this episode. But first, we're going to look at some of your paintings, and I have a painting here of a young lady, and our producer will show it on screen for our viewers, but this is to remind you.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell us about that one.
Definitely. So I started a series that I called my Paper Doll series.
Paper doll series.
Paper Doll series, where I made, so far there are 4 completed works in the series, and they are a series of 4 individual pieces, and each piece features a female figure with a collage dress and symbolic. Wow, I lost that word. Symbolism in the choices of imagery and different kinds of things that I used in the collage aspects. And then they also have like painted faces, and they have gold halos around them. So this image is actually the largest version I have worked in that series. So this one is probably 3 by 12 inches, so long and skinny.
Oh, okay.
And so it is still a work in progress. I'm trying to finish it right now. I'm not super sure the direction that I want to take to finish it. If I want to venture away from where the previous 4 in the series have kind of ended, or if I want to kind of take it in a different direction, because it's bigger, so I have a little bit more room to play with.
So how do you get the dress? Are you going to cut that, or?
I use, in this particular series, I'm using strips of torn paper. So a combination of images from magazines, advertisements, newspapers, recycled pieces of plastic, just really textural. I really like to take discarded items and use them in my work, which is part of why I'm really drawn.
So you recycle within your own house?
Yes, and not just my own house. Most people that know me know, hey, if you find a cool magazine, give it to Aleah. If you find a cool piece of paper or something like that, my studio is lovingly referred to as like a rat nest, because I just have stacks and stacks and stacks
you go to
of
doctor's
things.
offices and they're like, oh, I like this one.
Yeah.
Into the hearse.
Now I've noticed that like the neck seems a little bit elongated, and is the head a little bit proportionately squished? Is that something you're shooting for? I mean, I'm assuming that's intentional.
Yes, definitely.
Either that or it's like a really bad day when you're drawing that.
I'm really into giraffes. No,
Really into giraffes.
one of my bigger artistic influences is the figurative work of the artist Modigliani, who was French and kind of worked in the abstract expressionism era in like the 1920s through 40s, where he was really popular. And so in his figures, it's exaggerated proportions to kind of alter the perception of the female figure, to make you look at it differently, make you kind of think about the proportions of the body differently, about what is seen as like the idealized versions of beauty a little differently.
Yeah, I was going to say
a lot of art or pictures, you don't see the neck unless they want to focus on the neck.
Exactly.
And so you're making them focus on the neck, but it's not just the neck. It's because you see the face. I mean, she has a pretty face.
Thank you.
It's very nice.
So, okay, this next picture is different from that one because it's more abstract.
Definitely. So I have a tendency to work in series. So this is actually one in a series of 3 smaller paintings that I did. They were my heart's paintings. I don't know. I worked collaboratively on one with 2 other artists. in my artist community, which is called the Kettle Black Art Collective. And so that one was one that we all three kind of worked on, not very formally as a collaboration, almost as like a doodle, like brain experiment. We were just kind of passing it around to see what it ended up.
Wow.
And I loved the process so much that I made 2 other similar pieces to go with them as a set, kind of. And this picture that we have here is actually in progress posting that I did on my Instagram. Being an artist in the world today, your social media influence and your social media presence is something you really have to be on top of and focused on. So I try to regularly post in progress pictures of pieces that I'm working on.
That's a good idea.
So the finished product of this looks a little bit different, and I'd be happy to, share that with you guys too.
Yeah,
On my
Oh, that would be
Instagram.
interesting.
Also,
So we could put them next to each other and people can look at them.
yeah, definitely.
We're going to take a break, but while on break, can you think of, like, you collaborated on this. How difficult is it to collaborate with another artist?
I can't believe you drew that there. I can see people being a little possessive.
Oh, yeah.
The official coffee of the Kentucky-Arizona Walnut Association?
It's kava.
The national coffee of Kawasaki, Japan?
It's kava.
Hiya!
Is it the secret elixir of the surfers in Hawaii?
Or is it the secret island recipe of Kona, Koala, Kauai, or Cola?
It's kava. Kava is Polish for coffee. And here at Kava Coffee, we focus on serving a delicious, high-quality cup of coffee in a space where love, coffee, and people mix into the perfect blend.
We value our relationships with our customers and our roasters. Buy locally whenever possible and truly have the homemade touch. Our pastries, syrups, and even our almond milk are made in-house.
So come on in, relax, get some work done. Enjoy the Kava community, some encouraging words from the Kava Coffee Gang.
Kava Coffee.
Be awake.
Welcome back to the third chair. And Aleah, I'll get it right.
It's okay. Do you remember the old Donny Ivan song? Aleah, here we go again. It's like from the 80s. I'd never heard of it. My mother-in-law told me about it and then sang it to me every...
Is that what you're named after?
No. I was going to have a totally different name. And then my mom watched a movie about a serial killer that had the same name that she was thinking about naming me. and freaked out and called my grandma, so my grandma picked my name.
Your grandma? Why did she come up with Aleah?
I think it's some sort of combination of a Hawaiian-ish name. I've never seen it actually, like, in my same spelling anyways, in Hawaiian. But that is where my grandma was born and my mom was born, and my family lived before they came to California with, my grandpa was in the Marines.
So they were in Hawaii, what island?
Honolulu, Big Island.
Oh, okay.
Or Main Island.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. That's the heart. I always like to go to another island when I'm there because Honolulu is so crowded.
I've never actually been.
You never been to Hawaii?
Nope.
Oh, you need to. You know what? We had a blizzard here in '97. We were supposed to go, and we got delayed, and it was all suspenseful. And then I had to shovel through 4 feet of snow, and so when we got, and it was like all tense, and then got on to the island of Maui, and got off the plane, and I just breathe the air, and I feel all mellow.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes people breathe that Maui Wowie and feel all mellow.
Well, Peter, that's an entirely different story.
Conversation. But we are shooting live from Colorado. So you had more pictures?
Well, first we're going to find out working in a collaborative effort.
Right.
Yeah. See, I remember the question, which is really difficult at my age.
I think it's difficult at any age. I do think it's pretty challenging to work in a collaboration, but I think it's really fun because I think it pushes you outside of what you would regularly do, or maybe what your automatic impulse is to do. I'm a really intuitive artist, so I kind of just go where the muse leads me. And if I'm working with somebody else, I have to follow their path a little bit too, which kind of pushes my boundaries out a little.
Do you see are some of the artists like more plan it out, like I'm going to have this in this corner and this is going to look like this?
Oh yeah. So my art community, Kettle Black Art Collective, we're currently working on a 5-person collaborative painting. It started with one person, they get it for 3 days, it goes to the next person, you get it for 3 days, everybody gets 2 shots. So the first person who had it is traditionally a watercolor artist, which means his work is very specific and you have to plan it out very detailed because you can't take water away take watercolor pigment away once it's on the painting. And instead we were working with an acrylic collaboration. He has no idea what's going to happen. So he had this beautiful, what he thought was almost a completed painting that he decided to...
And then he found out differently after 12 days. Do you show them when you're in progress?
Yes, so I actually have pictures of that on my Instagram from the first time I got it, when I finished my part and handed it off to the next artist, versus the next time I got it and finished it and handed it off to the next artist.
That would be interesting to see.
And there's already, just from when I had it to when I last had it, totally different painting. It went from being like a very minimalistic, abstract, to now it has this whole story and feeling behind it that I don't think any of us even thought was happening until it was there.
You guys could have a show and just show like each step in the, like a picture of each step in the progress. And that'd be it.
And interview the people as they go along. I can't believe he did that!
Yeah, right?
I cried for 3 days.
The second person who got the painting the first time took it and spray painted neon pink and neon orange spray paint and paint on it. From a black and white minimalism painting, and we all thought that the first person who had the painting was going to have like a coronary, because it was like, not only is it, you totally changed the entire vibe of the painting, but you went into a color palette that I don't think any of us had ever worked in before. So
That's That is great. Boy, and it seems like whoever goes last, like, really will define the painting.
Exactly.
So who won that coin toss?
So every person got to pick whoever, like, out of the group that was left, whoever they wanted to hand it off to next.
Oh.
And then the next painting will start with the second person, and they'll get to pick a new order.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we're really excited. It's just like a fun, like I said, interesting, challenging way to kind of push us all a little bit out of our usual box that we work in.
And remain friends. That's challenging.
I mean, we'll see if we remain friends by the end. I mean, Chris and Sophia might come to blows over the finished product, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this is very interesting.
It is.
I like that idea, though.
Yeah.
Especially 5 people. I mean, I can see people, maybe 2 people collaborating, but 5.
Yeah, and totally different art styles, totally different processes, totally different everything. We will see how it turns out. It is still floating through.
Now, this painting looks like a picture.
This actually is a picture
Oh,
and
good.
not a painting. This is a delicious homemade dessert from one of our super awesome Kettle Black meetings.
I tell you what, it looks good.
Yeah.
Did you
so
say it's
the
dark
realism-
chocolate and raspberry? That's my combination.
Yeah, this is the artist Sophia Hanna, who is a local artist, was hosting dinner for our Kettle Black meeting. She made us mushroom Wellingtons, sautéed broccolini, and homemade dark chocolate raspberry tarts with the almond flour crust and homemade ice cream.
Okay, write that name down.
We wanna
She's gonna
invite
make
her.
this.
Oh, did you get
So
the
what's
A
the
for
A for?
Aleah?
Yeah, so she made individualized little tarts for each member of Kettle Black, and each one of our tarts had our initials on it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what a group of people working together should do to encourage each other.
Well, that works like a work of art itself. I tell
Yeah.
you
I mean,
that.
it was a work of art to eat it, and then I
Oh, I
very
bet it was
quickly
delicious.
destroyed the entire thing, and then needed to take a long nap afterwards.
Uh-huh.
We usually eat first and then talk business after, which I think we've realized is not a good idea because nobody's going to work after they eat a 2-course meal.
Yeah, no.
And this one is from your Paper Doll series also.
It is. This is the last one that I completed before I went bigger in size. So this is actually inspired by one of my mother-in-laws who was coming out to visit, and she is just lovely. We have this amazing connection. And after she came to visit, I was just kind of inspired to make something that reminded me of her.
Now it shows part of her dress. Was that a different medium or?
So that is the portion of the collage. So the head, the halo, the background are acrylic paint, and or some of the halos have like a ink, so that I can get that like really iconography like almost gold leafing effect. And then the dresses themselves, and each of the dresses and each of the different paper doll pieces are different, but still made of the same process of the layers of different strips of collage.
This is very good. When we come back, we're going to talk more about your studio and your work partners, so you find out details about them, or about the group as a whole, not about them specifically. But
I'm sure I can
posting
tell all of the details about them.
oh, we might not.
Yeah, on our special episode called Dox My Partners.
Exactly.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Grigg, a life and recovery coach with Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching. I've had the pleasure and privilege of helping people for over 25 years. I want to hear your story, support and encourage you while we partner together to help you reach your goals. I can help you. I am certain I can help you. I can be your guide, role model, resource person, and help you get results. What's my coaching frameworks? I'm an eclectic coach drawing from a variety of disciplines and frameworks with evidence-based proven methods. What would you like to work on? Some popular areas are goal setting and attainment, building and maintaining motivation, finding purpose, personal development, recovery from drug and alcohol addiction problems, health and wellness, life planning, athletic and creative artists, performance enhancement, maybe something else. Just ask me. I would love to help you. You can find my services on Fiverr.com.
So tell us about your studio.
So I have a studio on the second level of the Cottonwood Center for the Arts, Studio 202X. It is a shared studio, so I have a door in my studio that opens into another artist studio so that we can both afford to have studios. And we exactly.
Good thinking.
You know,
Yeah.
none of this is cheap. I mean,
Right, exactly. It's also, lovely to just have a place to go where I don't have to put my paints away and I can have stacks of paper and be a little messy and shut the door and turn on some music. And Cottonwood Center for the Arts, if you haven't been there, is just a super, super awesome, really, really wonderful community of artists. And it is 2 floors of every kind of different kind of artist you can think of. That is where I have met and created my community here in the Springs that I am so grateful and happy to have in my life. It's how we started the Kettle Black Art Collective. It's how I've made some wonderful friendships that will last me the rest of my life. They teach classes. They have First Friday open galleries every single First Friday of the month or the year. So on the first Friday of every month, you can go to Cottonwood. Downstairs, there's usually in the 2 big main galleries, like a brand new gallery show opening, either one that takes over both galleries or 2 separate ones. And there's a bar, and sometimes there's performance artists or interactive art piece. And then we in the Kettle Black Art Collective and Level 2 upstairs, we are trying to get more people to come upstairs, which is kind of how we started our little band of merry thieves together. So we have started having live music, installations we're trying to work on.
Nice.
We might have some open to the public collaborative art pieces. We've talked about all sorts of things just to kind of
So
bring the people
open to the
upstairs.
Public art pieces. Does that mean the public gets to work on them?
Yeah, exactly. So
Well,
maybe
that could be dangerous. 'Cause
right?
Oh my! If I
I want to bring my 3-year-old grandson.
Hey, I bring my 2-year-old all the time. He has that collaborative piece that I mentioned.
I was
He
told
put
I
some.
paint like a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
When you're gonna fit in just perfect.
Yeah.
You can hang out with the toddlers.
Like,
But there's people bring their kids.
probably we should show me a couple.
Well, at least he could review the budgets. He was an auditor for the Army.
Yeah, budgeting isn't our greatest strong suit as artists.
I have a brother who's an artist. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I have, like I said before, that dualistic personality.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my art, I'm just like, I could go buy some canvas. I'll figure out where I'm going to pay for it later. I really need this color of paint. Or some of my friends that work in oils, their brushes, an individual paintbrush will be like $30.
But my
For a
brother,
paintbrush.
my brother used to work at Art Hardware. I mean,
Oh,
and I would walk through the store and like, oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, one of my daughters is a big painter, and I just can't believe how expensive everything is.
That is actually part of how I started working in collage, because growing up we didn't have a lot of money. So when I would want to create or make something, I had to kind of get a little creative with my supplies. So I have worked with crayons and colored pencils and magazines and
I
glue.
saw some beautiful pictures with crayons.
That's
I
right.
mean, I mean, you do. It's
Right.
like, wow.
It's
you
part
know.
of the fun of mixed
And they
media.
said, yeah, I did it with crayons. And like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would have never guessed.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But that's what makes it tough, I think, for an artist, like to make any money off a painting that they make. Because, by the time you put in the price of a palette and the oil and all the supplies, I mean, you've invested $100 in the project already, and then even if you're only charging $20 an hour for your time, a good painting will take 10, 20 hours. You'd have to be charging $400 for everything, and then people are going to say that's too expensive. I can't afford that. So it's like you're between a rock and a hard place.
Right. That's the challenge that we face all the time.
Yeah.
There's, a lot of different people have a lot of different formulas on how they do their work. There's some people that charge per square inch of a painting.
Oh, wow.
There's some people that charge the cost of their materials times 2 plus an hourly rate, tracking all the hours that they worked. There's people that have like a flat starting rate that every painting starts at this amount and then just goes up and up and up and up from there, depending on how much work and effort they have to put into it. I am still working on pricing. All of my friends will tell you that I underprice my work.
I haven't met most
But
artists
you
I've
find
met
one
do
with-
that. Yeah.
Well, as a starter, that might not be a bad idea because
Right.
it gets it out there and people will see your work and say,
Yeah.
oh,
And-
because the best advertisement to me for an artist is if you see one of their pictures and you go, wow. I mean, unless you can get in some shows or...
Right. That's kind of my big thing. Like, I don't make art to sell art. I make art because I love making art. And so if someone loves my art enough that they want it, like I want to make it available to them, which is where I run into the problem that my friends say I underprice things, because I do put in a lot of time and a lot of effort. A lot of people don't think that abstract works are not like, perfect photorealism.
But
Takes as much time, but
it takes so much time because, I mean, you're creating a different image and, I mean, you thought about it in your mind, but you got to put that image on paper no matter
Right.
what it is.
exactly.
Well, and a lot of artists price the work after they've finished it. That's at least one advantage of taking a project on commission, where you set the price before you even start.
Right.
Because then if people, agree to it, then you're agreed.
I do take a commission. Feel free to reach out.
And at the end of the
Yeah, well,
episode,
that information.
we'll give the audience contacts
Got it.
to reach out and if they're interested in your commission work, and they'll see some of your work on this, and
Okay, who knows?
who knows, yeah.
Right.
And for every painting you buy, we will promise you $1 of Girl Scout cookies.
Wow. I do not make that promise. I cannot fulfill that,
That
but
might be-
I will also provide your contact information so that you...
That might
Send
be
those
harder.
inquiries to
Just
the
harder.
producer of 3 Men and a Duck.
That might be harder this year because there is a shortage of Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, I thought about buying some the other day. I saw some by Walmart.
Well, that's
Some
interesting
girls,
because they're
yeah.
not doing that as much this year.
No, there's
So
a
you
tiny
better-
little table, yeah.
But so you better, if you want the cookies, you better grab them while you can.
Gotta go get my
Yeah.
Thin Mints.
Yeah, I love the
yeah.
Thin Mints.
Oh, and in the
but,
freezer.
Oh, and they're
Good.
cold. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good. Yeah, you can smash them up, put them on ice cream. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, Kettle Black. Otherwise, we talk about all the cookies.
Yeah.
So Kettle Black. How did you guys come up with that name?
So, Kettle Black is a art co-op, art collaborative of 5 different artists that we work together. We are trying to bring more awareness and get people upstairs at Cottonwood, because for a long time it's been hard on our first Fridays or on our public events to get people upstairs. Some of the bigger, more established, more well-known artists have their studios downstairs. Sometimes people will just walk out and not even realize there's a second floor. So that was kind of how it started. And then we also are artists, we're emotional, we like to talk to each other, and so we would just get together and be, let me tell you about my life. Let me tell you about, you're going to tell me about your life. And Kettle Black, the name came from the pot calling the kettle black, the saying, because we would give each other advice on life, art, business, whatever, and then wouldn't take that same advice ourselves. So it was the pots calling the kettles black. And then I jokingly one night was like, well, I guess we're the Kettle Black Art Collective, and it just kind of stuck. And then,
I think it's a very clever name.
well,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, we
Very
are. It is fun. It has a lot of imagery that we can work with too, so that's been kind of fun to play with.
And you guys do a charity, and we'll talk about that when we get back.
Doug, most of our viewers and followers know that our new episodes come out on YouTube on Thursday nights.
Right.
But we have a new announcement about the third chair.
Exciting announcement.
Starting with the older episodes, they're now going to be on a TV channel.
Yes, very exciting.
So the TV channel is with the Pikes Peak Library District, Comcast Channel 17 here in Colorado Springs. And I believe the episodes are going to play at 7 o'clock at night, but they may cycle them, and who knows, maybe they'll be on at 2 or 3 in the morning. So if you're in Colorado Springs and you have Comcast and access to Channel 17, you're able to watch The Third Chair. The episodes are edited a little bit shorter. Some of the commercials are taken out on TV.
It should be exciting.
Yeah, I can finally tell my friends I'm really on TV.
We could tell them we're TV stars.
That's right.
Yeah. Welcome back. This is Aleah, and over there is Peter, the quiet one.
I can never get a word in that choice.
And I'm Doug. And tell us about your charity work that you're working on with your group, the Kettle Black group.
So a big part of Kettle Black, obviously, is bringing, awareness and people upstairs and getting more people involved with Cottonwood Center for the Arts, which is where we all have our studios. But another thing that we are trying to, and we are just at the very, very beginning of, is to start working on some youth charity options. One thing that we've really discussed is that art can be such a cathartic, safe, great way to express yourself, to find comfort, to find a community as we have with each other. And so we are currently trying to look at sourcing grants or find out more information about, specifically in Colorado Springs and the downtown area, trying to find some opportunities to bring making art opportunities to homeless youth. So whether that be a public art installation, a mural, a park cleanup, rehab, we really would like to be able, at the very minimum, to maybe provide some sketchbooks and some kind of medium to homeless youth. Something little, something they can carry with them. And I think that that's something that we're all very passionate about, because all of us are from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, but we all found art, and it's all super important to us, and just processing emotions and learning how to be a human in the world. And if we can, in any small way, impact some disadvantaged kids and give them an outlet, we would love to do that and find a way to really, do that in a way that's consistent and available and impactful for maybe somebody who doesn't have that availability. But we're just at the beginning of that.
And if you're homeless, you think about it, you don't have art, but you also don't have a pencil to write,
Right.
or paper to write on, or
Yeah.
anything
How
like
do you
that.
go and fill out a job application if you don't have a pen in your bag? How do you,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's a huge drug epidemic in the homeless community, and a lot of that is inability and just a lack of, at least in my opinion, knowing how to process and work through emotion.
Mhm.
And if you're a kid that's homeless on the street, it's not like you have immediate access to therapy or resources. So maybe having a sketchbook and some colored pencils could help you work through some of those emotions to be able to feel more comfortable reaching out to some of the amazing resources we do have in town, because there are therapeutic and rehabilitation and shelters that provide really amazing services here in town for our homeless youth, for our homeless population in general.
Colorado Springs is really good about that.
Really awesome. But it's getting some of these people to that point where they want to ask for help and they want to go to these facilities and programs and seek out those resources.
One thing I've noticed about it, though, is if you don't have an address, it is very hard to access so many things. Because everyone wants to know
Especially
what's your
internet.
address.
Yeah,
Yeah,
internet.
how do you get an ID? How do you get a driver's license? How do you get, come see the doctor? Well, what's your address? Well, I don't have one. Well, I don't, it's amazing. Just even if, and that's one thing the Springs Rescue Mission does, and I think it may still do it. I could be wrong, but they have a way that you can use their address for some of the homeless people, so they can apply and have an address for receiving like a letter back and things like that.
Well, I think would be like a great way, if we were just providing something as basic as a sketchbook and a pack of colored pencils. If we also had,
yes.
We've talked about having, something super simple like a piece of paper taped into the back of that sketchbook that has, here's the contact number for the Springs Rescue Mission.
Yep.
Here's the Marion House. Here's Inside Out Youth Services. Here's some other great resources that are here in town. We're not pushing it on you. We're not judging you if you ever pick to do it or not. But if you want those numbers, maybe they're there. Maybe they're available. And just kind of gathering some of those resources for people who may not even know that they exist, because a lot of our homeless youth are coming in from out of state. They're coming in from different cities. They're coming in from places where they don't know about our city and they don't know what we have available, especially with how big we're getting right now.
We've grown
It's
so
so
much.
crazy. And the bigger a city gets, the more homeless people there are going to be. Colorado Springs is beautiful. It's sunny most of the time. Even if it snows, it's gone the next day. So we attract a large population of people who may be sleeping outside, maybe,
And they
traveling
get
through
cold.
the country.
Well, there's a lot of human trafficking that comes through Colorado Springs as well.
Right.
Sadly.
Sadly, but that's true.
So maybe just some resources that we have available for those people who don't have access or knowledge about them, in just a very non-judgmental, non-confrontational, we don't want to push anything down your throat. Here's something for you, a gift. Use it, don't use it. Use it as a notebook, use it as a sketchbook, use it as whatever you want. And in the back, there's some resources if you ever want to use those too. But in order to do that, sketchbook and art supplies, as we kind of talked about earlier, can be super expensive. So I think in the near future, we're going to start working a little bit more focused on trying to build up some resources to hopefully put that out into the world. We are lucky enough to have found each other and have the resources available to be at Cottonwood, and so we just kind of want to share our good fortune and, make an impact on some
Sure.
That sounds very good.
something, on something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
We're taking donations now. I accept PayPal, LinkedIn. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll put that information up.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because something like that, it is important. And we kind of forget about that, just feeding them and other things. But there's other things that they need to get out of this situation.
Exactly.
Now, we should have asked this first. Do you like talking about your art? Because we've done that a lot in the last 40 minutes.
Yep. I am challenged for 2022. I hate talking about my art. I find it really anxiety inducing, but my challenge for myself for this year was to get better at it and to get more comfortable with it,
Mm-hmm.
and to push myself out of the box
Nice.
and accept opportunities like this.
Excellent.
To talk about my art and share my story of how I got to be where I am and why I make art and how I make art. And so that's what I'm doing with you guys. But it is
Yeah.
definitely a challenge. Hopefully I'm not doing too terribly at it.
Oh, you're doing
doing
it. You're
great.
doing
We
really
enjoyed
well.
this
Yeah.
episode. And
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're going to like ratchet up the heat a little bit and even have you talk about your art in more detail.
So Peter has been dying to ask a question.
You know, this is
He's
what it
gonna
is every
complain after
episode.
the
I
show.
never get to talk. Yeah. No, on your Instagram, you have a long quote about how you use art to help you process and interpret the world. And you list a whole bunch of things. Everything from gender dynamics to modern working motherhood. So let's talk about that. How do you use art to process and interpret the world? Let's pick like talking about your mixed race heritage. You have some Hispanic, Latina heritage.
Yes, definitely.
So how does your art fit into that?
Well, that is a long and complicated explanation.
You've got 40 seconds.
Wow. You're a generous guy, Peter.
No, you've got. You will give you time in the second segment if you
Okay.
like. So this is probably is like we'll let you think about that. We're not trying to make this too difficult. We'll take a break, and when we come back, she's going to talk about how she her art helps her think about heritage issues. Welcome back to the third chair with Aleah Farrell of Aleah Farrell Artworks on Instagram. And she's an artist, and when we left off, I asked her the question how she looks at art and how it influences or informs her thoughts and opinions about things such as your heritage.
Yeah. So I grew up in the South. I grew up in the belt buckle of the Bible Belt, Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so my mom is of Hispanic and Hawaiian descent, and my dad is white from Kentucky, grew up in the hollers of hillbilly land, basically. So I have a super interesting, complicated family, and growing up and even now processing just, life in the world, and my story isn't the same as everybody else's story. Art has always been that avenue for me from like a super young age. I used it to help me like process what was going on around me, learn about emotions, learn about how I wanted to present my ideas in the world. As I've gotten older, those ideas have gotten more complex. I'm a mom now. I work. I have a full-time job, and I'm an artist, and I'm a woman, and I'm a mother, and I'm a military veteran that's disabled, and I see all of these crazy things happening in our world. So part of my journey and process is, and has always been, to make art, and my art is very personal, and it is very tied to who I am. It's very tied to my story, my family, my history, my trauma, my chronic pain that I deal with, with my disability from the Navy. It has been a huge part of learning how to process and manage self-care. That's a super important thing that I think is very spoken about in the community right now, in the world, is actually taking care of yourself.
Yes, for sure. And of course, there's a whole field of art therapy, and as part of working with a therapist, and can be so profoundly helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also where I have found my community. It's where I have found my chosen family is my chosen family of artists. The Kettle Black Art Collective, Cottonwood Center for the Arts. I don't know where I would be without them, but my life is so much better because of them.
That is so fantastic. So you mentioned several things during the show. So you had mentioned in passing, and I don't want our viewers to think you're joking, like, would you take on a commission project? And if so, if people want to contact with you or that sort of thing, or to buy other works, tell them how you'd like them to make contact with you.
Definitely. So probably most active and most readily updated is my Instagram, which is at Aleah Farrell Artworks at Instagram. I try and keep it updated. I try and post a lot. I try and post a lot of progress pictures. I try and follow up with direct messages as much as I can. You can also find me at kettleblackartco.com, which is the Kettle Black website. We have bios. We have, hopefully soon, we're going to have links to classes and different things that we're offering, ways for you to get involved if you are an emerging artist and you want to find a community, or you have questions, or you want to just come hang out with us. We're there too. Also, my information is featured on the Cottonwood Center for the Arts website, and I am in my studio 202X every first Friday, for the most part. Every once in a while I miss one, to meet people, to talk about art, to talk about their art, to talk about my art, to whatever.
Yeah. So if people had to pick one of those, would sending a DM on your Instagram be the fastest way to get a response?
Probably the fastest way, or, I forgot, my email is afarrellartworks@gmail. You can reach me there too.
Aha, I knew there was something missing.
Yeah, all this is going to show on the screen.
Yeah, it's all going to show on the screen, yeah. Well, thanks for watching, and we will see Aleah again next week. She's agreed to stay for one more show. And
she's staying here this week?
Yeah, we are putting her in the basement.
I knew I should have brought.
Yeah, with a giant tub of finger paints. So please subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell icon if you enjoyed this show, so you know when we've put up the next one. Thank you, and good night from Two Men and a Duck Entertainment and the Third Chair.
This has been the Third Chair. Want to be a guest? Want to sponsor our show? Send us an email. Please subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media.